away, days burn, disintegrate, years roll along and fade. Don't let them slip away. Right here, right now, today. These are the good old days. Right here, right now, today. Hey, these are the good old days.
For as long as there's been Batman, there's been his iconic car, the Batmobile. It's been in TV shows, in comic books, and movies, and cartoons, and in toy lines. Depending on when you grew up, you have an iconic Batmobile that you consider is the quintessential Batmobile. But for kids of my generation, ours is the quintessential Batmobile. And when I say that, I'm kind of joking, but at the same time, in 1989, when Michael Keaton hit the screen in Tim Burton's Batman, we got the first non-campy live-action version of the Batmobile that looked like it could exist, but also still looked like a Batmobile. It was incredible. It was sleek. The design was everything you wanted in a Batmobile. It looked real world as well as outlandish, but also like a Batmobile. It was everything we wanted, and it also made a great toy. But what happened after that was the Batmobiles in the movie started being designed as toys first, and then put in the movie. And they kind of looked that way. They were less appealing and flash in the pan, and there was no staying power. Whereas the '89 Batmobile stayed in our hearts and minds for a long time. Now, after the Schumacher era of Batman, we got Batmobiles that were repurposed tanks and looked very tactical, but some of the fun of having a Bat-themed car was out the window. And we see that now where the Bat is kind of downplayed and it's more of a real-world thing. But for me growing up, the Batmobile that appeared in Tim Burton's Batman movies was the most and last iconic Batmobile. And it made great toys. There was the original Toy Biz one, which was my Batmobile from childhood. There was the Kenner took a stab at it, and then when Batman Returns came out, Kenner took a stab at the Batmobile Batmissile, which reenacted a famous scene from the movie. And today, we're going to take a look at that Batmobile and see if we can't get it from the garage back on the shelf.
It's funny. All right, now I'm a little worried.
So here is the Batmissile Batmobile. Now when Kenner got it, they made it a one-seater instead of a two-seater like Toy Biz, so no room for Robin. So we have no missiles here. The missiles are missing, and you can see that the canopy is missing, and you can also see that the wings to the back are missing, and we're going to make those new for this car here. However, the action feature still works, so that's great. But we are going to get started here, and we're going to start by making some missiles for this thing. Alright, so here are the missiles that we've made up here. We put them off in shiny, shiny gold. Now, with any luck, these will fit right in and fire out properly. You can be a little bit finicky making new missiles. So all the mechanisms can be different, but I think after doing enough research, we'll just get in there like that, and then hopefully that will just shoot out no problem. Beautiful. There we go. So the Batmobile's got some offensive skills, and now we're going to try and make up this canopy. Now usually this process takes 1 or 2 tries and I kind of figure it out, but this canopy took forever to get right, and I had to make so many different prototypes to finally get it to work, and it was so frustrating, and all of these ones here are just garbage, but eventually we got it to work. So after nearly going crazy designing this, we got the right attachment that fits, we got the right slope on the top, we got the right size and dimensions, and it should just snap right into place. And once we fit it in there, it looks great. I'm very, very happy with how that turned out eventually. Now let's get these rear fins made up. Now because the rear fins have a very specific curvature on them, I'm going to take this actual picture of the Batmobile to help define our template. And once we have our template made up, we can import it into our 3D space and then start molding it 3-dimensionally. So let's get that done and see what we can do. Alright, and these turned out really good. I'm really excited how these turned out. And with any luck, they should just kind of snap into place here. A little bit of finagling. And yep, there they go. They fit right into place. And this Batmobile is looking great. Now, I may have overspoken when I said this was the last iconic Batmobile. There was one other iconic Batmobile that came out at the same time. Just a month after the release of this movie, we got Batman the Animated Series and the Animated Series Batmobile, which was a very specific design, very sleek, very straight, very kind of art deco-y, and this was a great Batmobile as well. I would say this is maybe the last great Batmobile. So, because that first Canopy was such a headache, I'm going to now take a crack at making one for this Batmobile. So here is the Animated Series Batmobile by Kenner. It was a real cool toy. Again, a real simplified, kind of animated look, and it's really great. It was a great toy too. It had a hidden bat jet in the back of it, which I think is just great. But with the curviness and all the sculpting of the original Batmobile, this one's very linear, and I think this Canopy is going to be a little easier to make, and it'll make me feel better about myself for having such a hard time with that first one. And let's see if this one fits. And it, again, was a much easier design, and it fits into the hinge, and it fills in perfectly. It's a little bit of a different color. This is kind of a blue kind of looking Batmobile, so I'm going to mix up a little bit of paint here and see if we can't get it painted up to look a little closer to match there, and see what we can do. I'm going to play around with these colors until I get one that's pretty similar, and we'll give her a shot of paint. Alright, now as we let this canopy dry, we need some drivers for these Batmobiles. So I've got an Animated Series Batman and a Michael Keaton Dark Knight Batman that we just found in the cheap bin here. And like most figures that you find in a cheap bin, these Batmans need some capes. So what I like to use for capes is this quick dry material. I got this t-shirt at Giant Tiger for $6. And so it's got the right sheen, it's real light, it's thinner than a regular t-shirt. It's not going to fray when you cut it. So what I'm going to do is make up a template. And I've made capes before, I've just kind of winged it and used paper clips. We're going to do a different thing here. Now Toy Polloi has a great Batman cape template, and you should use his. It's fantastic. But I like to play around, so I'm going to try and make my own and see how it works out. And once we get this done up, we're going to cut it out and then cut out some capes. Alright, so here's our template printed off, and so I'm just going to cut it out of the paper. And once we have the paper cut out, I'm going to tape it down to the material we have, and then cut out the material in the same shape. and we'll have ourselves essentially a little cape to put on one of these Batmen. Alright, so here's our Batman in his cape. Now, previously I've used a paper clip to get it onto his neck, but I'm going to try and make up a little clasp like they actually had in the Superpowers ones. Toy Play used a pen, and I thought that was great, and I've tried that, and it's worked good. But I'm just going to try this and see if I can't get it to work like it did back in the 80s. And, you know, just for fun, I'm going to try it out, and we'll see what happens. Alright, and here is our neck clip ring, and it should fit right onto Batman here. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this rectangle we have down, and I'm going to sew it so it becomes a little tube, and then I'm going to feed this ring through it, and then sew up both ends, and we should have essentially what Kenner did in the 90s and the late 80s. Alright, and just trim off the excess bit of thread here, and I think this is fantastic, and I'm very excited with how well that worked, and how well that just snaps right into place. Oh, yeah, that looks great. Will recommend. Little ring we printed was a game changer. This is great. So now we have our Batman drivers for our Batmobiles, and these capes, you can take any variation of the 90s Batman figures and put a cape on them, and they look instantly better. So this was great. This cape worked out really well, and you can see here our Batmobile has all its missiles and its wings at the back, and its canopy works, and Michael Keaton's in there, and the day couldn't be any better for him. And as well as the Animated Series one. Alright, so we have Batman here, and we painted up his canopy so it looks a lot closer than it once did. It's not perfect, but it works. And, you know, the Bat plane still comes in and out, and the canopy there doesn't affect it. So I think these look and work great.
So there you go. There's our restoration of the 1992 Batmissile Batmobile by Kenner, as well as a Batman the Animated Series Batmobile by Kenner, and a new stab at some Batman capes for the Kenner Superpowers Toy Biz and the Dark Knight Collection Batman. If you had as much fun as we did today, please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube stuff, leave a comment below, share the video with a friend. You can support us on Patreon if you want, but most of all, we hope to see you back here for the next one.